So I saw Godzilla X Kong the New Empire, and I'm gonna tell you how I feel about it. The good, the bad, and the nerdy. If you've seen a number of Godzilla movies, you know there's basically two types of Godzilla movies. There's the dramatic allegory to nuclear technology and war, very deep Godzilla movies, tug at your heartstring ones. And then there's the wacky, goofy Power Rangers, Ultraman-esque Monster Fest Godzilla movies that you used to watch Saturday after cartoons or a Sunday matinee. Take a wild guess which one Godzilla X Kong the New Empire is. Godzilla X Kong the New Empire. This movie is ridiculous. This movie is freaking ridiculous. That's both a good thing and a bad thing, but this movie is ridiculous. This movie is basically Fast and Furious energy, but with monsters instead of cars. So depending on how you feel about Fast and Furious, replace a car from Fast and Furious with a monster, same energy. And the only reason why I bring that up is because I can feel in the present comparing this movie to Godzilla Minus One, which came out only a few months before this. I love Godzilla Minus One. That movie is so good. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. I made a video about it and everything. This ain't it though. This is not a place to do those types of comparisons. I understand why people will want to because they both had Godzilla in it, but they not the same. Comparing Godzilla X Kong the New Empire to Godzilla Minus One would be like watching the Greta Gerwig Barbie movie and then going and watching one of those direct to DVD Barbie animated CG movies and going, this ain't good. Just because they both got Barbie in it, they ain't trying to feed the same people. Kong is the star and the heart of this film. Kong might got second billing, but Kong is the star. Godzilla sometimes in this movie is like, yo, you know I'm still here, right? Like, you gonna call me or what? What's up? There are full scenes with Kong and Godzilla, Kong and other creatures. And I mean scenes with no humans, no dialogue. It's just grunts, facial expressions. Kong smirks a couple of times. But oddly enough, those scenes with no dialogue are probably my favorite scenes of the movie. And also the part of the movie that makes the most sense. It seems like the less talking that happens in this movie, the more it makes sense. The moment that someone comes in and tries to explain something about this, you're like, no. I was gonna accept the nonsense, but then someone always has to come in and goes, let me tell you scientifically how this is happening. You're like, stop, now it's ridiculous. Kong meets this little mini Kong, Suko. That made me think of like God of War. Like they were giving me straight up God of War vibes when they were together. I was waiting for Kong to look over to Suko at one point and just go, boy, that little mini Kong, he ain't telling you everything in the trailers, y'all. That little mini Kong, you think he's just there for cute factor. He is not a minion. He is not Baby Yoda. That thing is an a-hole. I'm not gonna go too much into it, but he is a mess. But the true a-hole of this movie is Scar King. He is exactly what I wanted him to be. That thing just thinks he is the shiznit every time he is strutting around. He got that lanky, long look and thinner look, so he's able to jump around a little bit. If you've watched enough of the trailers, you might have a good guess about this, but I'm just gonna say there is a reason why he is strutting around as much as he is and why everyone is so afraid of him. He definitely got a little something in his back pocket. Scar King, he rolled deep. He got some backup. You get a little bit of Godzilla, you get a lot of Kong, then eventually you get some Godzilla and Kong. But I felt like Godzilla was more present in the last movie than he is in this one. In this one, he almost feels like a special guest star. Any dramatic feeling about cities being destroyed by these monsters, any dramatic feeling about lives being lost, forget that. These monsters destroy anything in their path, and then we just act like that stuff never happens. It is very Angel Grove. It is very much like, oh, well, man, this is what they do. Just another Tuesday. All that being said, man, I loved all the monster stuff. The monster stuff is great. The monster fights, oh my gosh. And of course, the big thing you come for a movie like this are the monster fights. And the monster fights are insane. Monster fights are just straight up monster destruction. You got it in the beginning, you got it in the middle, and you definitely get it at the end. The end of this movie is like a tag team wrestling match. I was waiting for two commentators to be on the side to just talk about this entire fight. And Kong goes down for the count, but Godzilla comes in with the rope-a-dope. That stuff was wild, man. And usually the final battle is like part of the final act, but in this movie, it is the final act. This thing must have clocked in at least 15 minutes plus. I mean, it goes on, and it goes on in Hollow Earth. It goes on in Earth. Oh man, some of these monster fights made me so happy. I was looking on screen like, I cannot believe this is happening. I feel like I should have a controller in my hand at how much of a giant monster fight smash video game this is right now. Them monsters went off in this movie, man. Dang. But even before we get there, dude, Kong, they got some mini boss fights that were killing me. And the thing that's funny about Kong in this movie is he has some very much F around and find out energy. There are times when Kong's like, I know I can kick your ass, but I'm gonna be nice and let you walk away. And then that other monster's like, nah, I'm gonna keep pushing a little bit more. And Kong's like, all right, I warned you. So yeah, man, when there's monsters doing monster thing in this movie, it is great. But the moment a human comes on screen, the moment a human talks, it's like, bump, 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 wow. I know it's usually a common thing with these types of movies to talk about, oh, the human characters aren't developed, oh, the human characters feel like an afterthought. But I'm telling you, in this movie in particular, nah, man, the human characters could basically not exist. There are so many times that they aren't even on screen. And there's so many times when even when they are on screen, if you took them away, it would not hardly change anything. There's a couple of characters that have a little bit of a story that goes on here. The girl from the last movie, the one that doesn't speak but has a connection with Kong, she has a nice arc in this story. But everyone else, man, every human is here basically for exposition. Rebecca Hall, I think her name, her character, every line of dialogue of hers is just, let me explain what's going on. And again, it's things where it's like, well, I already see it. We're good. You don't need to try to make this science. A bunch of humans from the last movie don't even show up. Millie Bobby Brown is nowhere to be found. And then there's this brand new character that comes in. On one end, I like him because he brings a lot of energy into the movie and he definitely fits the vibe of this type of film. He apparently comes with his own 80s soundtrack. So this movie will have a beautiful epic score, like that monster score that you're used to with these types of movies. And then the moment that this one character comes in, it immediately turns into 80s hair metal. And then the moment he leaves, it goes back to score. Every time. This movie is very 80s inspired, but I felt that might have been a little bit too on the nose. I mean, the human characters are so unnecessary that the movie has to make up stuff for them to do. And I'm not just talking about that big gauntlet that you see in the trailer that Kong wears, which I don't even know how they even tried to explain how that exists. Don't even worry about it. They try to make a whole scene to explain why they have this thing and its purpose, and it makes no sense. See, what happened was we had this whole technology because we thought that, nah, this is for merch. But even before that, there's something that specifically happens to Kong, and I'm like, you only did this to Kong so the humans have something to do. But when the monsters fight, that's what's so bad about me, because this is one of those things, it's like, this is why I can't be a critic, y'all. I'm sorry. I know I should be all like, this is not what cinema should be, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry. I see every wrong thing in this movie, and I feel you. Anybody that gives this thing a rotten, I understand you, but I'm sorry. When the monsters fight, when Kong gives a smirk, when Scar King laughs in Kong's face like you up in my hood right now, I'm sorry, man. That shit makes me go, I know I shouldn't love you, but I know you're wrong for me.
They don't have to like each other. They just have to work together.
I feel like the movie parent is like, you shouldn't be around that movie. You know it's a bad influence. You know that's not good cinema. But Daddy, I love him. He gives me monster fights. You don't understand. Take my movie critic card away. I don't care anymore because I know this movie is dumb. But I had a smile on my face the entire time. I feel so dirty. But I also don't care. I went to Godzilla X Kong New Empire expecting a Godzilla and a Kong and an Empire, and I got it. I love this dumb shit. And I'll watch this dumb shit over and over again.